Welcome to another video. In this video I'm going to show you guys an alternative home theater setup with the AV receiver. If you don't want to run your wires everywhere, or if you can't run your wires everywhere for a smaller room like this one. So the alternative way is what I'm going to show you, and then I'll give you guys my insight on this experience. But before I continue here, just know that ideally for a home theater setup, ideally you want to run your center channel in the middle, your front right on the far right, and your front left on the far left, your rear channels in the right and left in the back, and then your subwoofer wherever you can put that. So ideally you want to run that 5.1, at least 5.1 and up, to get your true surround sound, because that's the whole point of home theater. But if you have like an extra room, or you don't have room at all, and you still want to enjoy your home theater, this setup that I have here, if you don't know yet, you can do this, and I'll give you guys my insight and experience on that. And so basically the way you're running this is like running a soundbar, but the difference is that in the future, when you do have the room and you want to run all the wires, or you're able to run all the wires, then you can actually do this. So instead of like having a soundbar, and then when you upgrade from a soundbar to an actual surround, you already have it, and then you just extend it. And then, because once you have an AV receiver, just know that, of course, you can always upgrade your speakers. So I recommend, if you guys do decide to get an AV receiver or upgrade it, you want to get an AV receiver. You want to spend a little extra on an AV receiver, and a little bit extra on a decent subwoofer. As far as the speaker goes, you can go cheap on that, and then when you're ready, you can upgrade your speakers. And once you upgrade your speakers, it'll get better. But as long as you have your decent AV receiver and a decent subwoofer, you're good to go. So in one of my smaller theater rooms, I did not want to run all the wires under the carpet and up the wall to have the surround sound. So what I did was I basically just put all the speakers on one side, running 6.1 in this setup for this home theater. So I recommend, if for a small room, go ahead and run your 5.1 or 6.1 on one side. I got my high channels hooked up too, so I got the 7th and 8th channel also hooked up, but I turn it off because since I'm not running up the wall towards the ceiling for my high channels, I shut it off because you're not gonna need that, since I'm running all the speakers like a soundbar on one side. So also, I started with this first and foremost in this smaller room of mine that I started with here. Actually, you can just run 2 speakers. So if you run 2 speakers and a subwoofer, and especially have a decent speaker for a smaller room, it actually is pretty good for 2 speakers. So I recommend, if you are planning to run, like, say, two front channels and a center channel, don't run the center channel. If you're only gonna run like 3 speakers, just run the front left and the front right and a subwoofer. That way, it's gonna sound more clean because you're not running the full surround sound. But if you are running the full surround sound, even though we're not putting the channels at the distance and area that it needs to be, because we're gonna run it like it's a soundbar, it's running it with all the speakers in one side of the room, and obviously whatever you're facing for the screen, that screen, wherever you have your speakers, make sure if you're facing the screen, if it's make sure that it's front right, front left, and rear right, as far as the channel goes when you're looking towards the screen. Now, as far as the sound quality for running like this particular setup here, 6.1, it's still enjoyable, and I still get a little surround sound as far as like, if something's like in a far distance. And I've noticed that a lot of movies, anyways, the ones I have, it doesn't really take advantage of the distance anyway as much, or even like a height channel. So a lot of movies don't even really take advantage of it. But for this setup, alternatively, I would have to say it works just fine to get the surround sound in home theater, and you don't, for me personally, you don't need to go ahead and run a full surround sound and if you don't have the capabilities. But obviously if you do, that is ideal. But in this case, when I run all the speakers on one side like a soundbar, it doesn't ruin my experience, and it's almost like it's like you don't even notice that all the speakers is on one side of the room. So I just want to give you guys my experience inside in that. If that's the only thing you can do, it works just fine. And then, like I said, ideally in the future, if you can run the proper way, then at least that you already have this setup instead of like a soundbar. So this is the alternative. So that's the video. Thanks for tuning in. I'll catch you in the next one. Hooded Dragons out.